Today is the 16th of September 2010. Tonight is the 58th time we are speaking on the Majjhima Nikāya. We come to Sutta 140, Dhatuvibhanga Sutta, the exposition of the elements. This sutta to me is one of the most moving suttas. And after you see why. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering in the Magadhan country and eventually arrived at Rajagaha. There he went to the potter Bhagava and said to him, "If it is not inconvenient for you, Bhagava, I will stay here. I will stay one night in your workshop." "It is not inconvenient for me, Venerable Sir, but there is a homeless one already staying there. If he agrees, then stay as long as you like, Venerable Sir." Now there was a clansman named Pukusati who had gone forth from the home life into homelessness out of faith in the Blessed One. And on that occasion, he was already staying in the potter's workshop. Then the Blessed One went to the Venerable Pukusati and said to him, "If it is not inconvenient for you, monk, I will stay one night in the workshop." And this Venerable Pukusati said, "The potter's workshop is large enough, friend. Let the Venerable One stay as long as he likes." Stop here for a moment. According to the commentary, this Pukusati was a king of Takasila, and his country traded with Magadha, King Bimbisara. So King Bimbisara, out of friendship, sent him a golden plate with the Dhamma inscribed on it. And he read the Dhamma, and I guess he understood the Dhamma. So, according to the commentary, he renounced his kingdom and went forth as a monk. And he heard that the Buddha was staying in Savatthi, so he wanted to go to the Buddha. But at this point of time, he arrived in Rajagaha. So the Buddha apparently went there to meet him. Then the Blessed One entered the potter's workshop. Forgot to mention, he had never seen the Buddha, so he didn't know who the Buddha was. He only knew that he wanted to be a disciple of the Buddha. Then the Blessed One entered the potter's workshop, prepared a spread of grass at one end, and sat down, folding his legs crosswise, setting his body erect, and establishing mindfulness in front of him. Then the Blessed One spent most of the night seated in meditation, and the Venerable Pukusati also spent most of the night seated in meditation. Then the Blessed One thought, "This clansman conducts himself in a way that inspires confidence. Suppose I were to question him." So he asked the Venerable Pukusati, "Under whom have you gone forth, monk? Who is your teacher? Whose Dhamma do you profess?" And Pukusati said, "Friend, there is the recluse Gotama, the son of the Sakyans, who went forth from a Sakyan clan. Now a good report of that blessed Gotama has been spread to this effect. That Blessed One is Arahant Sammasambuddha, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, enlightened, blessed. I have gone forth under that Blessed One. That Blessed One is my teacher. I profess the Dhamma of that Blessed One." Then the Buddha asked him, "But monk, where is that Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha, now living?" And he said, "There is, friend, a city in the northern country named Savatthi. The Blessed One, Arahant Sammasambuddha, is now living there." "But monk, have you ever seen that Blessed One before? Would you recognize him if you saw him?" "No, friend, I have never seen that Blessed One before, nor would I recognize him if I saw him." So you can see from here, he went forth, shaved off his hair, put on the robe, and went forth as a disciple of the Buddha. But he had never met the Buddha, so he was going to look for the Buddha. Then the Blessed One thought, "This clansman has gone forth from the home life into homelessness under me. Suppose I were to teach him the Dhamma." So the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Pukusati thus, "Monk, I will teach you the Dhamma. listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, friend, the rebel Pukusati replied. The Blessed One said, Monk, this person consists of 6 elements, 6 bases of contact, and 18 kinds of mental exploration, and he has 4 foundations. The tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations, and when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage at peace. One should not neglect wisdom, should preserve truth, should cultivate relinquishment, and should train for peace. This is the summary of the exposition of the 6 elements. Monk, this person consists of 6 elements, so it was said. And with reference to what was this said, there are the earth element, water element, fire element, air element, space element, and consciousness element. So it was with reference to this that it was said, Monk, this person consists of 6 elements. Stop here for a moment. Normally, the Buddha says a person consists of 4 elements. But in this case, the Buddha has added 2 more, the space element and the consciousness element. And all these elements will be explained later. So I have mentioned before, earth element is not really earth. Earth element refers to the hardness, the perception of hardness. Anything hard in our body is the earth element. Then the liquid switch are the water element. The heat is the fire element. And the air element is that which causes motion in the body, causes the blood to move, causes the gases to move, etc. Space element is the space inside us, the various empty spaces, and we have the consciousness element. Monk, this person consists of 6 bases of contact, so it was said. And with reference to what was this said, there are the base of eye contact, the base of ear contact, the base of nose contact, the base of tongue contact, the base of body contact, and the base of mind contact. So it was with reference to this that it was said, Monk, this person consists of 6 bases of contact. Monk, this person consists of 18 kinds of mental exploration, so it was said. And with reference to what was this said, on seeing a form with the eye, one explores a form productive of joy, one explores a form productive of grief, one explores a form productive of equanimity. Similarly, on hearing a sound, smelling an odor, tasting a flavor, touching a tangible, cognizing a mind object, one explores the sense objects productive of joy. One explores the mind objects productive of grief. One explores the mind objects productive of equanimity. So it was with reference to this that it was said, Monk, this person consists of 18 kinds of mental exploration. Stop here for a moment. So here the 6 bases of contact refers to the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. These are the 6 sense organs. This can also be said to be the 6 internal sense bases. And then these 18 kinds of mental exploration, I think we already read about this in a previous sutta. This is manopa vichara. Vichara, as I mentioned, is sustained thought. So it refers to when the 6 external sense objects impinge on our sense basis, the internal sense basis. Then when we think about it, either we get joy or we get grief or we get equanimity. So this feeling arises. Monk, this person has 4 foundations. So it was said, and with reference to what was this said, there are the foundation of wisdom, the foundation of truth, the foundation of relinquishment, and the foundation of peace. So it was with reference to this that it was said, Monk, this person has 4 foundations. This foundation, the Pali word is aditthana. One should not neglect wisdom, should preserve truth, should cultivate relinquishment, and should train for peace. So it was said. And with reference to what was this said, how, Monk, does one not neglect wisdom? There are these 6 elements, the earth element, water element, fire element, air element, space element, and consciousness element. What, Monk, is the earth element? The earth element may be either internal or external. What is the internal earth element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified, and clung to, that is, head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, marrow, kidney, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lung, large intestine, small intestine, contents of the stomach, feces, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified, and clung to. This is called the internal earth element. Now both the internal earth element and the external earth element are simply earth element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the earth element and makes the mind dispassionate towards the earth element. What among is the water element? The water element may be either internal or external. What is the internal water element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is water, watery, and clung to, that is, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tear, grease, spittle, snot, oil of the joint, urine, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is water, watery, and clung to. This is called the internal water element. Now both the internal water element and the external water element are simply water element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the water element and makes the mind dispassionate towards the water element. Stop here for a moment. In the meditation on the loathsomeness of the body or unattractiveness of the body, we have to chant 32 parts of the body, head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, etc. And these 32 parts are the first half are the solid, more solid parts of the body, and the solid parts of the body are referred to as the earth element. And then the second half consists of the watery parts of the body, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, tear, grease, etc. So this is the two parts of the 32 parts of the body. And what among is the fire element? The fire element may be either internal or external. What is the internal fire element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is fire, fiery and clung to. That is, by which one is warmed, ages and is consumed, and that by which what is eaten, drunk, consumed and tasted gets completely digested, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is fire, fiery and clung to. This is called the internal fire element. Now both the internal fire element and the external fire element are simply fire element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the fire element and makes the mind dispassionate towards the fire element. What among is the air element? The air element may be either internal or external. What is the internal air element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is air, airy and clung to, that is, upgoing winds, downgoing winds, winds in the belly, winds in the bowels, winds that course through the limbs, in-breath and out-breath, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is air, airy and clung to. This is called the internal air element. Now both the internal air element and the external air element are simply air element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus, as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the air element and makes the mind dispassionate towards the air element. Stop here for a moment. So in all these, the Buddha says, we should see that this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. And how to see this? We can only see this when we realize that all these elements that our body is made up of is impermanent, subject to change, subject to conditions. and ever changing, always changing. And the Buddha says whatever is changing cannot be I, cannot be mine. So if one takes it as I and mine, then one tends to cling to it, cling to the body as I or mine. Then when it changes, the Buddha says all bodies will either grow old or sick or die. So if we cling to it, we will suffer. So if we can see whether it is our body or some other body, always realize this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Then only we can become disenchanted and dispassionate towards these elements. And what Mang is the space element? The space element may be either internal or external. What is the internal space element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is space, spatial and clung to. That is, the holes of the ears, the nostrils, the door of the mouth, and that aperture whereby what is eaten, drunk, consumed and tasted gets swallowed, and where it collects, and whereby it is excreted from below, and whatever else internally belonging to oneself is space, spatial and clung to. This is called the internal space element. Now both the internal space element and the external space element are simply space element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the space element and makes the mind dispassionate towards the space element. Then there remains only consciousness, purified and bright. And what does one cognize with that consciousness? One cognizes this is pleasant, one cognizes this is painful, one cognizes this is neither painful nor pleasant. In dependence on a contact to be felt as pleasant, there arises a pleasant feeling. When one feels a pleasant feeling, one understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. One understands, with the cessation of that same contact to be felt as pleasant, its corresponding feeling, the pleasant feeling that arose in dependence on that contact to be felt as pleasant, ceases and subsides. In dependence on the contact to be felt as painful, there arises a painful feeling. When one feels a painful feeling, one understands, I feel a painful feeling. One understands, with the cessation of that same contact to be felt as painful, its corresponding feeling, the painful feeling that arose in dependence on that contact to be felt as painful, ceases and subsides. In dependence on the contact to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant, there arises another painful nor pleasant feeling. When one feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, one understands, I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. One understands, with the cessation of that same contact to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant, its corresponding feeling, the neither painful nor pleasant feeling that arose in dependence on that contact to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant, ceases and subsides. Monk, just as from the contact and friction of two fire sticks, heat is generated and fire is produced, and with the separation and disjunction of these two fire sticks, the corresponding heat ceases and subsides. So too, in dependence on a contact to be felt as pleasant, to be felt as painful, to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant, there arises a corresponding feeling. One understands, with the cessation of that same contact, to be felt as pleasant or painful or neither painful nor pleasant, its corresponding feeling ceases and subsides. I'll stop here for a moment. So here this last part now, when the Buddha talks about consciousness, Buddha says one cognizes this is pleasant, one cognizes this is painful, or this is neither painful nor pleasant. So consciousness tells you that you have a pleasant feeling, or a painful feeling, or a neutral feeling. So this feeling, you know, is just a type of consciousness. Sometimes some people get confused. They think feeling, perception, volition, all very distinct from each other, very distinct from consciousness also. But they are all different types of consciousness. Feelings is a type of consciousness, perception is also a type of consciousness, volition also is a type of consciousness, etc. Even these 5 elements, earth, water, fire, wind and space, they are also perceptions. For example, the earth element. The earth element is the hardness, the perception of hardness. This perception of whether it's hard or it's soft, it's just a perception, and perception is a type of consciousness. Similarly, hot or cold is also a perception. So although we think that the physical world consists of this solidity, liquidity, heat and all that, but actually all these are perceptions. So because they are all perceptions, they are all part of consciousness. Part of consciousness. They are just perception in the mind. That means even the physical world is mind-made. It's not so different. The body and the mind. So that's why sometimes I like to give the example. For example, if a person has fallen into hell, and because of his karma, he is burned in hell. He feels the heat, he feels the pain, everything. And then you imagine an arahant goes into hell to see what's happening in hell. This arahant goes into hell. He doesn't feel the heat. He doesn't feel the pain. Why? Because his mind is different. So because the mind is different, the perception is different. So everything is mind-made. Our world is made by our mind. Okay. Then there remains only equanimity, purified and bright, malleable, wieldy and radiant. Suppose monk, a skilled goldsmith or his apprentice were to prepare a furnace, heat up the crucible, take some gold with tongs and put it into the crucible. From time to time he would blow on it. From time to time he would sprinkle water over it. And from time to time he would just look on. That gold would become refined, well refined, completely refined, faultless, rid of dross, malleable, wieldy and radiant. Then whatever kind of ornament he wished to make from it, whether a golden chain or earrings or a necklace or a golden garland, it would serve his purpose. So too, monk, then there remains only equanimity, purified and bright, malleable, wieldy and radiant. He understands thus, if I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite space and to develop my mind accordingly, then this equanimity of mind, supported by that base, clinging to it, would remain for a very long time. If I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite consciousness, to the base of nothingness, to the base of neither perception nor non-perception, and to develop my mind accordingly, then this equanimity of mind, supported by that base, clinging to it, would remain for a very long time. He understands thus, if I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite space and to develop my mind accordingly, this would be conditioned. If I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite consciousness, or to the base of nothingness, or to the base of neither perception nor non-perception, and to develop my mind accordingly, this would be conditioned. It does not form any condition or generate any volition tending towards either being or non-being. Since he does not form any condition or generate any volition tending towards either being or non-being, he does not cling to anything in this world. When he does not cling, he is not agitated. When he is not agitated, he personally attains Nibbana. He understands thus, birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There's no more coming to any state of being. Stop here for a moment. So this paragraph 20, the Buddha says, there remains only equanimity, purified and bright, malleable, wieldy and radiant. This description refers to the fourth jhana. Normally when we read in the suttas, that after a person has attained the fourth jhana, the Buddha says that state of the fourth jhana is utter, he has attained utter purity of mindfulness and equanimity. And also, the Buddha says, then the mind is purified and bright, malleable, wieldy and radiant. So it becomes malleable, wieldy. You can do what you want with it. You can shape it into anything you want. So, just like the goldsmith, he purifies the gold. So the monk, when he attains to the equanimity, he has purified his mind so that it is bright, malleable, wieldy and radiant. Then with the fourth jhana, he can use that state to attain the arupas. The first is arupas or arupa jhanas. First is the base of infinite space. The second is the base of infinite consciousness. Then the base of nothingness. Then the base of neither perception nor non-perception. These are very high states of meditation where the mind opens up and becomes boundless. And it is said here that if he wants to, he can remain in that state for a very long time. In other words, if a person is reborn in those realms, the base of infinite space or base of infinite consciousness or base of nothingness or the base of neither perception or non-perception, those devas there, their lifespan is very, very long in terms of world cycles. But then this monk, he knows that if he develops his mind to those bases, it is conditioned. Those states are conditioned. They are not permanent, because nothing in the world is permanent. Everything in the world is conditioned and changing, impermanent. So because all these states are impermanent, understanding the Dhamma, this monk does not generate any volition tending towards either being or non-being. This volition is the will intention. When we have an intention to do something or not to do something, we create the conditions for something to happen. But in this case, this person, he knows everything in the world is conditioned and impermanent. And because everything in the world is impermanent, you can never get everlasting happiness. Even if you are born in those realms, those high heavens, you might be there for a very, very long time, but subsequently you will pass away from there, and then you might get rebirth in lower realms. So that's why the Buddha says all states of existence are unsatisfactory. Dukkha you can translate as suffering or unsatisfactory. So understanding the Dhamma, he does not generate any volition. He does not want anything. He doesn't want being, he doesn't want non-being, etc. So because he does not cling to anything, he is not agitated. The mind becomes cool. Nibbana, a translation for Nibbana is cool. The mind is totally cool. Normally, our minds are all very agitated minds. And this agitated mind brings us on the round of rebirth. The round of rebirth is never ending. We always want to do something. In the suttas, the Buddha said that sometimes these devas with millions and billions of years lifespan, when they die, they think life is so short. They still haven't done this, they still haven't done that, they still want to do this and do that. They're unfulfilled ambitions. So this is the volition. You keep wanting this, keep wanting that. The round of samsara never ends. It's only when you are spiritually matured and you see dukkha, especially if somebody can see the past life. When we see our past life, then the memory of the past life will engender sorrow. There are some children, they remember their past lives and they insist on going back to the village of their previous life, and sometimes the parents have no choice have to bring them back to that village, and then they can recognize this person and that person and call them by their personal names. But it seems after that they get into depression when they think of the past. Those loved ones, no more with them or no more so close to them and all that. So they get into deep depression. So that's why when somebody understands all this, then he does not cling to anything. Not cling to anything, he doesn't want anything. When he doesn't want anything, the mind is totally cool. Then only he can be liberated. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There is no holding to it. There is no delight in it. If he feels a painful feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There is no holding to it. There is no delight in it. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There is no holding to it. There is no delight in it. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he feels it detached. When he feels a feeling terminating with the body, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with the body. When he feels a feeling terminating with life, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with life. He understands, on the dissolution of the body, with the ending of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right here. Monk, just as an oil lamp burns in dependence on oil and a wick, and when the oil and wick are used up, if it does not get any more fuel, it is extinguished from lack of fuel. So too, when he feels a feeling terminating with the body, or a feeling terminating with life, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with body or life. He understands, on the dissolution of the body with the ending of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right here. Therefore, a monk possessing this wisdom possesses the supreme foundation of wisdom. For this monk is the supreme noble wisdom, namely the knowledge of the destruction of all suffering. I'll stop here for a moment now. So, if a person has finished his work, he has become liberated, then whatever feeling he feels, he does not attach to it, does not even identify the feeling with himself. He just knows something impermanent has arisen and will cease. Then he says here, if he feels a feeling terminating with life, and he feels a feeling terminating with the body. Now in the commentaries, it says a feeling terminating with the body means at the end of life. The other one, a feeling terminating, let me see, there's a commentary say, 1281. Okay, 1281, that is, he continues to experience feeling only as long as the body with its life faculty continues, but not beyond that. And then 1282, this refers to his attainment of the Nibbana, an element with no residue left. But these two, according to the commentary, the feeling terminating with the body is when he dies. And the other one, feeling terminating with life, is when he attains parinibbana. Parinibbana, that means the Arahant passing away. There's nothing left after he passes away. But basically these two are the same because this person is already an Arahant. So I was thinking about it. Maybe another interpretation is a feeling terminating with the body is when the Arahant attains this state called the cessation of feeling and perception. When an Arahant attains a cessation of feeling and perception, is a temporary state. He can only abide in that state for a maximum of 7 days, after which he will automatically come out of that state. So when he is in that state, the body has no feeling. That's why it's called a feeling terminating with the body. And then the feeling terminating with life is when he is going to pass away. And Arahant has mindfulness 24 hours a day. His mindfulness is so sharp. It does not lapse. So even when he's dying, at the last moment also he knows. That's why when he's dying, he knows, he feels a feeling terminating with life. That's another interpretation that I offer. Okay, then the other thing I'd like to mention here, he understands on the dissolution of the body with the ending of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right here. This might be for the Arahant, but even for an ordinary person, you find that before that person dies, he might be very agitated about this, about that, and all that. But actually, when he's really at the last moment, when he's dying, then he sees another world coming up, another plane of existence coming up. Then whatever was important in this lifetime will grow cold. It's no more important. What is important is where he's going for rebirth. A lot of people, problem is a lot of people, we don't prepare for that moment. So we are still attached to everything in this world. You're attached to your state, to your status, to your wealth, to your property, to your relatives and all that. But in the end, there's nothing at all that you can bring over. Not even your own body you can bring over. So all those things are no more important. At the last moment of dying, what is important is where you are going for rebirth. And for a lot of people, they are frightened because they are not going to a happy place of rebirth. Only when you have prepared yourself that at the last moment you are happy to leave this world and go to a better place. But that's very few people will get that. His deliverance, being founded upon truth, is unshakable. For that is false monk, which has a deceptive nature, and that is true, which has an undeceptive nature, nibbana. Therefore, a monk possessing this truth possesses the supreme foundation of truth. For this monk is the supreme noble truth, namely nibbana, which has an undeceptive nature. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he acquired and developed attachments. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Therefore, a monk possessing this relinquishment possesses the supreme foundation of relinquishment. For this monk is the supreme noble relinquishment, namely the relinquishing of all attachments. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says that that is false, which has a deceptive nature, and that is true, which has an undeceptive nature, nibbana. So what is meant here, that nibbana is true and undeceptive. The world is of a deceptive nature. And not only the world is of a deceptive nature, the Buddha says in the Maggandhya Sutta, for a long time our mind has tricked us. For a long time our mind has tricked us. Our mind has made us believe that we exist, that there's this self, and that this body is mine, this mind is mine, this feeling, perception, volition and consciousness is mine, etc. So the Buddha says that for lifetime after lifetime, we have been deceived by this thinking mind. Only when you cultivate your mind to such a high degree of purity, then only you can see clearly through all this deceptive nature. Then the Buddha says, ordinary person has a lot of attachment, but this Arahant, he has a supreme noble relinquishment. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he experienced covetousness, desire and lust. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he experienced anger, ill will and hate. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he experienced ignorance and delusion. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Therefore, a monk possessing this peace possesses the supreme foundation of peace. For this monk is the supreme noble peace, namely the pacification of lust, hate and delusion. So it was with reference to this that it was said, one should not neglect wisdom, one should preserve truth, should cultivate relinquishment, and should train for peace. So this last part, the supreme noble peace is one who has pacified lust, hatred and delusion. There is no more lust, hatred and delusion in him. He's totally at peace. So here the Buddha talked about wisdom. Wisdom is being able to understand the elements and to understand there is no self, and then to become liberated, and that is possessing the supreme wisdom. And once he has attained liberation, then he has the supreme truth and the supreme relinquishment and the supreme noble peace. The tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations. And when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage at peace. So it was said. And with reference to what was this said? Monk, I am is a conceiving. I am this is a conceiving. I shall be is a conceiving. I shall not be is a conceiving. I shall be possessed of form is a conceiving. I shall be formless is a conceiving. I shall be percipient is a conceiving. I shall be non-percipient is a conceiving. I shall be neither percipient nor non-percipient is a conceiving. Conceiving is a disease. Conceiving is a tumor. Conceiving is a dart. By overcoming all conceivings, monk, one is called a sage at peace. And the sage at peace is not born, does not age, does not die. He is not shaken and is not agitated, for there is nothing present in him by which he might be born. Not being born, how could he age? Not aging, how could he die? Not dying, how could he be shaken? Not being shaken, why should he be agitated? So it was with reference to this that it was said, tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations. And when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage at peace. Monk, bear in mind this brief exposition of the 6 elements. Stop here for a moment. So this conceiving is, you can say, thinking, having ideas. The normal mind, the Buddha says, tends to proliferate, papancha. One thought becomes 10, 10 becomes 100, 100 becomes 1,000. So there are some people, they think too much. At night, they cannot switch off the mind, they cannot fall asleep. So the mind is a source of suffering. The Buddha says we have physical suffering and we have mental suffering. But the Arya, the Aryan, the noble person, he only has physical suffering. He does not have mental suffering. Mental suffering, you can see, is because of not accepting what comes. But an Arya, he knows that everything that happens in the world is due to causes and conditions. So whatever happens, he accepts it. When you accept it, then you don't suffer. Ordinary person will not accept this, will not accept that, and he thinks and he thinks and he thinks, and the mental suffering proliferates. So this Arahant, he is at peace. He does not have any more conceiving. He does not think, I am this, or I shall be this, or I shall not be this, or I shall have a certain form, or I shall have a formless Deva's body, or I shall be percipient, non-percipient, etc. So the Buddha says, conceiving is a disease, is a tumor, is a dart. That means it's a source of suffering. So when this person has become liberated, he has overcome all conceivings, and he's at peace, so he's not agitated. Thereupon the Venerable Pukusati thought, indeed the teacher has come to me, the sublime one has come to me, the fully enlightened one has come to me. Then he rose from his seat, arranged his upper robe over one shoulder, and prostrating himself with his head at the Blessed One's feet, he said, Venerable Sir, a transgression overcame me, in that like a fool, confused and blundering, I presume to address the Blessed One as a friend. Venerable Sir, may the Blessed One forgive my transgression, seen as such, for the sake of restraint in the future. Surely, monk, a transgression overcame you, in that like a fool, confused and blundering, you presume to address me as friend. But since you see your transgression as such, and make amends in accordance with the Dhamma, we forgive you. For it is growth in the Noble One's discipline when one sees one's transgression as such, makes amends in accordance with the Dhamma, and undertakes restraint in the future. Venerable Sir, I would receive the full ordination under the Blessed One. And the Buddha asked, but are your bowl and robes complete, monk? Venerable Sir, my bowl and robes are not complete. And the Buddha said, monk, Tathagatas do not give the full ordination to anyone whose bowl and robes are not complete. Then the Venerable Pukusati, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's words, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he departed in order to search for a bowl and robes. Then while the Venerable Pukusati was searching for a bowl and robes, a stray cow killed him. Then a number of monks went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, they sat down at one side and told him, Venerable Sir, the clansman Pukusati, who was given brief instruction by the Blessed One, has died. What is his destination? What is his future course? And the Buddha said, monks, the clansman Pukusati was wise. He practiced in accordance with the Dhamma and did not trouble me in the interpretation of the Dhamma. With the destruction of the 5 lower fetters, the clansman Pukusati has reappeared spontaneously in the pure abodes and will attain final Nibbana there without ever returning from that world. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. That's the end of the sutta. So this Venerable Pukusati, he asked for ordination, full ordination. So the Buddha said, you have to have complete robes and bowl before you can be ordained. So he went to look for the, maybe he didn't have a complete set of 3 robes. So he went to look for robes, and a cow gored him to death. This happens every now and then with monks. Why? Because a monk wears the robe, which is this saffron colored, and these cows, if they happen to have a young calf by the side, and a monk comes near, they tend to attack the monk because this is like the tiger's color. Tiger's color. I had the experience myself, walking through the paddy field. A row of us monks walking to, you didn't notice the cow was tied there with the calf by the side. So about 5 of us were walking, and then when we came near the cow suddenly got up and so fierce, chased after us. We all bolted in different directions. So luckily I think it was tight, so it didn't keep coming after us. So this happens when monks are not experienced. You go near any cow, and after that experience, you know, whenever you see any cow, you look whether there's a calf or not. And there's a calf, you don't go near. So this Venerable Pukusati, after he passed away, the Buddha said that he reappeared in the pure abodes. In other words, he had attained Anagamin, third fruition Arya. If that is the case, it means he had already attained the 4 jhanas. So this is a person who had a lot of blessings, is able to attain the 4 jhanas even before meeting the Buddha. Now the thing is, how come the Buddha came to this person, Pukusati? This Pukusati was walking a long way to look for the Buddha. And the Buddha came to him when he was in Rajagaha, before he arrived in Savatthi. If you look in the Vinaya books, we find that the Buddha generally he will look for some person who is ripe for enlightenment, and generally he will look for those people who have attained the 4 jhanas, either in this lifetime or in a previous human lifetime, so that they still have the ability to attain the 4 jhanas. So the Buddha, he surveys the world at night, and when he finds such a person, he will go to that person, teach the Dhamma, and that person can become an Arahant, sometimes just by hearing the Dhamma, either Anagamin or Arahant. So he probably saw that this Pukusati was such a person, and maybe he might have seen that this Pukusati, his life was coming to an end. So he, out of compassion, the Buddha went to him and help him to become anagamin, so that he went for a good rebirth. He never be reborn in the woeful plains. Another person the Buddha went to, if you remember, we read the earlier sutta, was this Angulimala. Angulimala is also a person the Buddha probably saw that he had the ability to become an arahant one day. So, and this Angulimala this bandit had already killed a few hundred people. So the king King Pasenadi was going to catch him, to kill him with his army, you see. So the Buddha went to him before this, the king went to kill him, and then spoke Dhamma to him so that he became a monk. And after he became a monk, he strove very hard and attained arahanthood. So you can see the Buddha will go to those people who have the ability to attain arahanthood. And we know that the condition to become an anagamin or an arahant is 4 jhanas. So generally, the Buddha will look for people with 4 jhanas to help. I think that's enough for tonight. Anything to discuss? This Nibbana, technically a person who has become enlightened is said to have attained Nibbana. And when a person has become liberated, his mind is said to be cool, no more agitated, no more self. When we have a self, then we want to do this, we want to do that. And Arahant has no more self. That's why a lot of Buddhas, they don't teach. 99.99% of Buddhas, they don't teach. They have no more self. They have no inclination to do anything. But like our Buddha, when the Brahma came to plead with him to teach the Dhamma, after pleading with him 3 times, then he saw that some people can understand. Then only he went to teach the Dhamma. The other word is parinibbana. This word parinibbana nowadays is used in the sense that when an arahant dies, passes away, then he enters parinibbana. That means he has no more body. The consciousness also has stopped. The body also has broken up, the 5 aggregates.
And then we practice the thought for all time. So we say and then when we pass away, we see that we go to Dhammavuddho.
I forgot, I'm not a Pali scholar. I think from the word parisuddhi, parisuddhi is complete, utterly pure, something like that.
So Buddha was enlightened at that stage, we cannot talk about
That's how I mentioned. Just now I mentioned that technically when a person becomes enlightened, he has attained Nibbana because he has cut off the greed, hatred and delusion. Okay, shall we end now?